Happy Kingdom Media Friday. We're within days of the NFL draft. Will the Chiefs add a wide receiver? What does a potential McDuffie extension look like? And we share our top 5 all-time Chiefs offense. Tune in for Gridiron Gambit.
Welcome, Chiefs Kingdom. Thanks for tuning in to this Red Kingdom Media production, bringing you raw, authentic Chiefs coverage. Make sure to like and subscribe to stay up to date on your team. Now sit back and enjoy the show.
Let's work. Hey.
What's going on, everybody? It's a Friday evening edition of Gridiron Gambit. We are officially less than a week away until the first night of draft. Brett Veach has talked to the media, so we are officially in that season so far. I am one of your co-hosts for tonight, Clinton, and joined with me is my partner, Dre. How are you doing tonight, pal?
I'm doing pretty good, man. How you doing?
Can't complain. It's like now we got a lot more going on, a lot more to talk about instead of just kind of forecasting mock drafts and who you like and stuff like that. Now it's time to get a little more serious. You get more of the data involved. You've seen everything. You talk to everybody. So,
getting closer to that time, man.
You're right, but we're still just waiting a little bit longer. Like maybe after this weekend, it'll be like, oh, now we definitely know who the first, 10 picks in the first round are going to be and on all that. Right now, it's still too close to call, in my opinion. We don't have all the data yet. We haven't heard all the leaks and stuff. So, we'll talk about that here next week. We're going to be live for the draft. We're going to be covering all the nights of the draft. So after this episode, stay tuned for that. We'll be on a little short hiatus, but we'll be with you all Thursday night for round 1 of the draft. So, we'll be there to kind of forecast those top 10 picks, like I just said. But let's go ahead and jump into the first topic of the evening, which is about McDuffie's contract year. So, Dre, you had mentioned to me specifically Tyler Gordon. You think that his 4-year, $40 million contract, which includes $31.25 million guaranteed, you think that this kind of has a big effect on Trent McDuffie and maybe the long-term value that he brings to this defense. But what about that contract kind of sent the alarm bells off for you and the comparison to Trent McDuffie?
Well, first off, the Chiefs are known to pay or extend their DBs. I think the last DB to be extended is Eric Berry, if I'm not mistaken. So, we didn't extend Snead. We didn't extend Charvarius Ward. Who else was it? We didn't. Yeah. So Marcus Peters, we traded Marcus Peters to his rookie contract. So,
right.
it's gonna be sticky. With Kyler Gordon getting $31 million guaranteed, and McDuffie, one of the best inside corners in the league, and he's a 2-time Super Bowl champion. He's gonna want more than $40 million a year.
Right.
And is Brett Veach willing to open that pocketbook for Trent McDuffie? I don't know. I hope he is, but Trent McDuffie also has to have a better year this year. He was solid on the outside, but with them moving back inside, I think he'll be more comfortable this year. So I think, barring hopefully everything goes well, as far as like health wise and everything like that, he's gonna want that bread. He's gonna want it, man. And I don't know if Brett Veach is gonna be willing to pay him that money, man. I don't know, cause what Snead get from the Titans? He got 4 years, $76 million, $55 million guaranteed. Chiefs wasn't willing to pay that.
Yeah.
So
you make good points. I don't think this is quite as comparable in my mind. I think
Mm-hmm.
the Derek Stingley numbers that came out, the 33 million a year. I don't think this Gordon contract necessarily at 40 million a year. I think that's just kind of spread out. So it's probably only a 10-year deal. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Trent McDuffie's best skill sets are in the slot, but I don't think McDuffie is going to be willing to take slot receiver money. And, considering he's done some things that L'Jarius Sneed and Trevarius Ward and stuff like that haven't been able to do, which is make Pro Bowls and make all pros and be able to like rank high in the rankings, not just, be Spagnuolo thumbs up, confidence boost or whatever. So, and I understand your point that, we haven't paid the defensive back, one that we've drafted and kept after the rookie contract. And, I would say the exact same thing about center before last season, and then we signed Creed for an extension. So I think it's maybe piggybacking off of Tuesday's conversation. Maybe it's something Brett Veach took those guys, so he has faith in those guys, so he'll want to extend them because they're his guys. And I think Trent McDuffie is a Brett Veach guy because he doesn't hit all the measurables in terms of height and arm length and all those other stuff, but he just locks down every defender on the field and breaks up every pass and puts the ball on the ground on every single play. So he's already proven his value in that way. But I could see the comparison. I just think he's probably set for a monumental contract.
Oh, he's gonna want more than what Kyler Gordon's getting.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's an argument.
Because Kyler Gordon is he's a corner slot as well. He's a corner DB, slot DB as well. And Trent McDuffie gonna want at least 35 million guaranteed.
What up, Dale?
He gonna want at least 35. What's going on, Dale?
35. Yeah. I mean, do you think that Trent McDuffie is the type that he wants to break the market, or can he just kind of slot into like the second or third highest paid corner, and because everyone else on the team is willing to kind of do that slight pay decrease, but for the sake of staying on a championship level team?
It all depends. To me, it all depends on his mindset that's going into contract negotiations. Do you want to focus on your legacy and continue to contend for championships, or do you want to secure your bag for your family for the future? A lot of people are going to, you see what Tyreek Hill did. Tyreek Hill, he went for the bag in Miami.
Right.
They wanted more money. So you get, not everybody's like Tyreek Hill though. So, you get a lot of people. I personally think that Bolton took a deal. Just that's my opinion on it, but
you think Nick Bolton took a pay decrease? You think he could have got more in the open market?
Yeah, I think so. 2-time champion, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, 2-time champion.
Gotcha.
So, but it's all about his mindset and what he's looking at as far as contracts go. Does he want to continue to compete for championships and pay for Spags? Or if go to the Super Bowl and all that stuff, or you gonna want to break the bank and get $50 million a year, or not $50 million a year, but for $35 million or $40 million a year. So
Dale thinks he deserves every dollar, and really he should.
He does.
Like I said, some of the players on this team you hope are willing to take a little less, but maybe the contract says highest paid. Like Creed is the highest paid center. But I don't think he's making like such top dollar that it's like, man, I can't believe Creed Humphrey is eating so much of our cap space. You know what I mean? So I think it's just based on how he slots in. And to your point about Tyreek Hill, amazing how times have changed in just over the last 5 years. Tyreek making $30 million a year as a wide receiver is just, hearsay, uncalled for. And, McDuffie were willing to, 35. If you have to start inching up to 40 million, I guess you have to. And I don't even remember the number that Jamar Chase is making right now, but that's insane levels right there.
40. He's making about 40 a year.
So, numbers keep changing year after year, and the NFL keeps making more and more money. So, one position is going to keep taking a certain. I think you should almost be like percentage wise. And I know teams will never be willing to go there because that's kind of powerful to say, Patrick Mahomes, we're going to pay you 25% of all of our cap space, and then start inching out the smaller percentage to everybody else. But it almost is that way. And, the numbers will show that, and they keep bumping up year after year because the NFL just keeps generating more and more money. And, we heard Brett Veach talk yesterday, a week prior to the draft, and he said that he wants to get this Trey Smith situation handled, figure out if he can keep him and retain some of that instant cap for this year. And he would like to start that conversation with McDuffie and George Karlaftis both. So, I think Trent McDuffie is obviously the first and gets that priority. So Brett Veach has already mentioned verbatim that he wants to bring back Trent McDuffie. I don't know if we necessarily heard that about L'Jarius Sneed. So what do you think has to do with that? Like, why do you think that McDuffie is seen higher up than what we saw with L'Jarius Sneed?
I mean, production for one, and for two, you got to understand that draft pick for McDuffie was part of the Tyreek Hill trade. So
That's right.
You kind of got to make the trade worth it. So you kind of have to extend McDuffie. If you let McDuffie walk, then it's kind of like, yeah, we got 2 championships out of it, but our offense is struggling still. I mean, we could have had multiple championships with Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill was still here. That's just my opinion on it. But so you kind of have to make Trent McDuffie a priority, in my opinion. You have to, just based off of that trade alone. And then on top of that, you get his production. He's a hell of a slot DB. He played pretty good on the outside as well. But I'm a fan of McDuffie. I do. A lot of people say that I have an issue with some of Brett Veach's signings and draft picks and everything like that. I'm a fan of a few of his picks, and McDuffie is one of them.
I agree. He's been dominant, and I think he's been good enough on the outside, but he can really shine and be that like defensive game ruiner when he's in the slot, and seeing those insane QB blitzes where he just gets in like half a second and the crowd goes wild. So, I think we'd all like to see it. Maybe some aren't as high up on, the amount of money that he's going to ask for.
He's going to cost some money.
I think the NFL has changed, and you don't necessarily have to be a 6 foot tall, 200 plus pound muscle type cornerback to be able to get that big contract. I think any defensive playmaker can make the money if the value is right. And it seems like Spagnuolo has found this spot for Trent McDuffie. And any other time, I don't think Trent McDuffie is a first round pick at a cornerback, especially for Steve Spagnuolo. But the fact that the NFL has changed and he's shown his value kind of speaks to his talent. And I think we all would agree we want him for the long term. But I think we kind of all said the same thing about L'Jarius Sneed and Charvarius Ward. So I think you've made your point that the turnovers, the fumbles, the sacks, the stuff like that actually shows up on the stat sheet has kind of shown him to be that kind of step above what Sneed was, just because Sneed was more a lock a player down. You don't hear about whoever he was guarding the whole game, but it's not like the offensive line treatment. You want to be able to have your name show up in the scorecard after the game's over.
Right. Yeah. I agree. With Derek Stingley making $30 million a year, then the next one is J.C. Horn. making $25 million per year. He just got that contract too. I don't know, man. Yeah, he's going. He's gonna want to be in between those two for sure.
Right.
If not more than Stingley. That's just my opinion. And obviously, Veach, those are his guys. Obviously, he broke the we don't really re-sign centers and all stuff like that. We did with Creed, so he broke a habit of not doing that. So I mean, he obviously wants to keep his guys around that he thinks highly of and that are very impact players. So
right.
He probably gonna have to. He's gonna break the bank for her. I think he'll open up the pocketbook for him for McDuffie.
And the fact that McDuffie makes arguably like a game-saving play in a Super Bowl, your legacy is already cemented. If you don't even have to play another game again, you're already like in the highlights of the NFL for life. So he could very well go off to another team, and a team may want to give him $50 million and steal him away if they think that he's that insane unicorn of a defensive back. But
yeah, that was the issue that's what I was nervous about when it came to Trey Smith, because the Chicago Bears, they basically got a blank check for him. Oh, he's cheap.
Oh,
but he's got to pay his guy though. He has to pay his guy though. Sometimes you can't be frugal all the time if you want to keep that championship window open, man.
So then you have to say where's the marquee line, because I think Tyreek Hill isn't a Brett Veach guy, but he was high enough in the kingdom and popularity and on jersey sales and all that he was able to generate money for the Chiefs, but they couldn't agree on a big term money contract. He wasn't a Veach draft pick, but ultimately that's a Clark Hunt decision and how much money he's willing to shell out for all the players and how much cash he has in the bank ready to fork over at any given moment. So, McDuffie seems humble enough, but once their agents get in the room, money starts talking, and the owners.
Yeah, and that was part of the issue with Tyreek's Hill agent as well. Tyreek, he said it a few times that he just told his agent just get him some more money or just extend him or whatever. And I think Drew went a little overboard and got him traded. So I don't know, but I think a lot of stuff play a part into where they were just like, we're not going to pay Tyreek Hill because of, off the field issues and stuff like that. So, but you get McDuffie. McDuffie he's chill, he's quiet. So, and that's his guy. So, I mean, as far as the blueprint, as what John Dorsey has built for Kansas City, you got Chris Jones and Pat Mahomes and Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Travis Kelce's been taking deals. Travis Kelce could have been the highest paid tight end in the league too, and by far, but he just wants to play. So I think a lot of people see that side as well. It could be like, I just want to win. So it's not all about the money. So McDuffie could go into it with that mindset as well, with like Travis Kelce, and but I don't know.
And all those players, money, all those players besides Tyreek Hill were also like the highest paid or close to at that position while still playing on the Chiefs. I mean, Patrick Mahomes set the $500 million, $500 million contract that comes out. Chris Jones, 5-year deal right now. Travis Kelce is still either up there or is the highest paid tight end for this season. So all those years of taking a pay cut, he'll take the money for his final season, or at least it seems like final season. So money is willing to be dished out to those leaders, and I think Trent McDuffie has shown himself that he can be one of those leaders. And in order to properly do that, some other ones have to leave, so that his voice can get louder. And for all we know, like you said, he's a quiet guy, so maybe he's like a lead by example type. But he'll definitely have to step into that role as kind of more of the elder statesman now that Justin Reed is officially not on the team. Mike Edwards is still there, but he's always kind of been a backup, even when he was a couple years younger. So I think we're set to see a Jaden Hicks step up, unless a draft pick or two here in the early rounds. I don't know if we're going to look that direction, but Trent McDuffie's set to be like the leader of the defense, if not just the secondary. So a guy like that, you have to pay to keep. You just said Nick Bolton got the bag, but he could have got more of the bag. And that's basically what Spagnuolo likes about him the most, is that he's like that defensive leader. So, the Chiefs still value defense. You can say what you want about Andy Reid and how this team operates, and that's the Patrick Mahomes show. But the Chiefs have dished out a lot of money on defense, and they understand that that's how you win championships. It's how we stayed in the game in the previous Super Bowl, when the offense kind of just fell flat right away. The defense, the only thing that kept that from being an absolute embarrassment. So
yeah,
we'll do what's important. I think extending Trent McDuffie is important. Like I said, Brett Veach is trying to work this Trey Smith scenario out first. Worst case scenario, he'll just play on the tag. But I don't know. If you're a player like Trent McDuffie, I don't know what the incentive is to start negotiating right now either, especially knowing the Chiefs don't rip up rookie contracts. So they would only pay you what your actual 4th year, 5th year on that rookie contract would be, then start giving you that massive amount of money on the contract that it shows up that makes the news. But they're still going to pay you those rookie contract years. So, what's the incentive for wanting to negotiate earlier?
Right.
So I think we're about all talked out about Trent McDuffie, and we're going to move on to our next topic pretty soon. But before we do that,
make sure to like and subscribe. Follow us on all our social media platforms at Red Kingdom Media. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Leave a like or comment so we can reply and interact with you and make you a part of the show. If you listen to us on Spotify, please rate us 5 stars so we can increase our reach in the playlist. Follow us and all our contributors on all the social media platforms: TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and X. If you'd like to come on and talk Chiefs, message us so we can potentially set that up. Do you enjoy written content? Subscribe to our Substack. We have both a free and a $5 a month subscription and post on there frequently. And if you have any interest in being a contributor on the writing staff, feel free to reach out and we'll be in touch. It would help support the brand if you would purchase our merch, like the shirt that I'm wearing currently. Set up an order for one of these or 2 or 3, and this will allow us to expand our inventory options. Thanks for being a part of this channel, and if there's any partner that's listening to this interested in sponsoring the show or any other content that we produce, please reach out. Now, back to the show.
Before we go on, I have to plug the Chef Veach article series that we'll be wrapping up next week, officially on Thursday. I released an article on Monday of this week, and next to Monday morning at the exact same time, a second article will be dropping. The first one had to do with, we need to take an offensive tackle or an offensive lineman or defensive lineman, something, standard, no nonsense. And this next one's the complete opposite. What's it like if we take a certain wide receiver out of Mizzou that everyone loves to talk about? What if the Chiefs did something weird and took some running backs and some earlier spots than they probably need to go to? 1st round tight end. I don't want to tease it too much without giving anything away. Just subscribe to our Substack to get access to that. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that Braxton just put out his NFC East Team Builder article just a few hours ago before we're going live here on YouTube. So if you haven't already, go on our social media and find that, and make sure to check that out. We're giving away a 1 month free of our Substack to cover the draft content that we were working on. So if you just send us a message or an email saying, "Hey, this is my email address. Sign me up for that 1 month. We'll get you set up." So enough chit chat. I think I plugged everything that we got. So let's officially move on to our next topic, which is called "Need Extra Wide Receiver." So kind of depending on who you ask, the Chiefs either need several wide receivers in this draft, or they could kind of just skip drafting one altogether, based on the amount of weapons returning this season and the kind of big names that everyone's already hyped about. So, in your opinion, do you think that the wide receiver room is solid as it is, or do you think that they should add another one via free agency or by the draft?
With the struggles that we've had the last 2 years as far as our offense goes, you can never have too many wide receivers, in my opinion. So that's what I'm hoping happens with the 31st pick, a wide receiver. Luther Burden from Mizzou. I'm not a Mizzou fan, but I'm a Jayhawks all day, but I'm a fan of his though. And yeah, he's a baller for sure. I'm hearing that he's slipping in the draft from a few people, but I also did hear Brett Veach talk yesterday in his press conference that if there's a player there in the 20s that he wants, that's on their board, they will possibly go up and go get him. It's a possibility, like they did with McDuffie. So, I do think we need another wide receiver. Just based off of, I mean, we don't know how well Rashee Rice's knee is going to be when he comes back. Yeah, he just a couple weeks ago he just got cleared to run routes. So he's on track to be ready for training camp. Then you got Worthy, you got you got Juju, you got Hollywood, and then you got Nico. And
you got one and only Sky Moore.
The thing about Sky Moore is I've been watching Sky Moore work out recently. Sky Moore he been working out. He's been doing his thing. I've been liking what I've been seeing. And the crazy thing about it is when it came to Sky Moore, I was one of the people draft night that was very high on Sky Moore. I wanted him over Pickens. It's not looking too good as far as the draft pick now.
Right.
But I'm hoping that Sky Moore, he'll have a bounce back season. I mean, he ain't got no choice because I mean this is rookie contract. This is his contract year, isn't it? I think so. So, yeah. I do think we need a wide receiver. Even I don't think that I don't know if there's too many wide receivers out there that are available. I mean, you got Renfro, but I think Hunter Renfro he might go back to Vegas. So I don't know, but I do think we need a new wide receiver. I do think we need a wide receiver or two. Sky Moore, 800 yards. I don't know, man. We'll see. I'm hoping he has a heck of a year this season, man. Like I said, I've been watching him post his workout clips. He's been down there in Texas with Pat.
So my Sky Moore wide receiver 5 comments, you may agree, and you're like, yeah, that's a great spot for him. I think he could do.
Wide receiver 5?
Yes.
Yeah, at wide receiver 5, he'd be all right. Just don't have him punt. Just don't have him returning punts or kicks.
Right. Yeah. And in that draft that we got Sky Moore, we also got Trent McDuffie, and we traded up to acquire him, and then kept George Karlaftis. I was one of those proponents of Christian Watson. I thought that was like the perfect mixture of those two guys you just said, and he was a small school guy. So I
was sold on Christian Watson as well. I was a fan of his too.
So imagine like Christian Watson instead of George Karlaftis, but then who was more valuable, blah blah blah. But that was my pick for for wanting the wide receiver from that draft. But that aside, I'm back and forth on it because I like the names that we have, but it's almost like Andy Reid at some point just gets bored of a certain player almost, and he's like, oh, what does this guy have? And it's like the Sky Moore talk. How come he hasn't been able to do like a little bit more other than his kind of demotion last year? Like if Andy Reid has value and he'll put you in a position that you were contributing in some way. So how many
playbook?
I mean, at this point, you've had enough Texas training camps with Patrick Mahomes. How hard is the play? Like if he just lines up in the certain spot, won't Pat know where you're supposed to be? So
yeah, that's true.
Like you're getting this hands-on training, you still haven't got it. I mean, technically Justin Ross is on this roster.
He's been down there in Texas with Pat too.
Yeah. Do you think he'll do anything or Nico Remigio as actual wide receivers?
No. I think Nico is for sure our returner. He'll be our returner. I don't think he'll do too much as far as being on the field unless we are depleted at wide receiver. I don't think Justin Ross will do anything. Justin Ross has had 3 years, 4 years to crack the offense, and he still hasn't done it. But we keep him around though for that piece though. I think it's more so him and his relationship that he has with Pat than anything. I think Pat and Travis Kelce, they think highly of him. So I think that's probably why he's still around.
Okay. So we'll continue to have these receivers at the bottom of the roster, but we still feel the need to add more towards that upper tier in the middle.
Because I'm pretty sure there's some wide receivers in the draft that are better than those guys. That's just my opinion.
That's the old adage. The brand new toy is better than the old toy. So, yeah. I mean, I see that as well. I think those mid rounds, day 2 or day 3, those are kind of those prime spots for an offensive weapon. And, it could be we're talking all this. Do they need a wide receiver? It could be a tight end. It could be like a running back. It could
get
just
Pat's
be
brother from Rice.
I think he's more like an undrafted free agent, but that'll be like the pity call. Yeah, don't worry, we were gonna take care of you. We knew no one was taking you. It's okay. But it could be any offensive weapon that is able to contribute in this offense, and I think we'd be excited about it. Like at the time, we were saying Rashee Rice 2nd round. That's kind of high, and we traded up. Why? I thought this guy was like a 3rd rounder or something like that. But, the Chiefs had so much confidence in that pick that they waited, didn't feel like waiting anymore. It took him, and we saw like the instant success he's had. So if the Chiefs identify a player like that, then, oh yeah, take him because Andy Reid will find use for you.
And you also have to look into with the Rashee Rice situation. I mean, he'll be coming up on contract talks here in a year or so, in 2 years, and then he's possibly gonna miss some time whenever this situation happens. So it's like, yeah, when he plays, he'll perform, but at some point in time, are you going to extend him if he does miss time for what he's done, and then what if he doesn't come back and perform well after the ACL? So you have to prepare for that. So I think that you kind of got to go get. I think you got to go get a wide receiver. I think so.
I see that, and I don't think anybody's last year when we traded up in the 1st round for Xavier Worthy said, "Oh, are we trying to just kick out Rashee Rice or whatever?" Because we're like, oh yeah, the more the merrier. You can't have enough receivers. So why wouldn't we also think that we have some older guy like Juju is taking up a spot, but like, do we necessarily want him to be like a starting wide receiver that's in for several several passing snaps all game. You
Right.
could argue that, but I think you're right that they need another wide receiver in that mid tier that they can rely on and shuffle in, and those mid rounds tend to be the perfect spot for them. You're talking Luther Burden. I think that have to be a first round pick. I said in the article, I don't know if people would be necessarily thrilled if that's the move, because I think they want that more long-term security pick, and it's only on fixing the offensive line or adding on the defensive line. So what would you say to those who say taking Luther Burden in the first round is a waste because there are bigger needs?
Well, I mean, I think he will impact quicker than what we would any. He would if we go get Luther Burden in the first round. I think he will be an instant impact player than any other position that we get in the first round. Like if we get a left tackle or whatever, I don't think that left tackle is going to start. I think that spot is for Jalen Moore. On the D line, you got Karlaftis on one end. I mean, you got a minute. We got a lot of people on. We got a lot of people on as far as like linebackers and on that line. So I don't know if he would come in and he would be an impact player as well, right off the bat as well. So I don't know. Like Brett Beach was saying yesterday in his interview, some of the players that they signed in a free agency and stuff like that, he basically wanted it to where they wouldn't be. Basically, they'd be in a position in the draft to where they will be getting the best player available and then not be a need immediately right then and there. So I think that a wide receiver will be the best player available, an impact player. So go up and get Luther and or go get a DB.
Right. I think you're in the same adage as me. Like, yes, everyone keeps saying big red flag, the Chiefs need to select tackle in first round. And it's like, if that's the target on your back, then everyone's going to try to jump in front of you or make sure they take whoever they think is a good tackle in front of you. So you don't want to play your cards all at the same time like that. And like, if you pigeonhole yourself to having to take a player at a certain position, you could be taking the 5th or 6th best guy. And if the number one wide receiver, the number one cornerback is on the board, why isn't that worth a conversation? Like, it should be best player available because it should make the best impact. Obviously, if the best player is a quarterback, then that's different. But a player that you can put on the field at any given time should be the priority. It sounds like you agree.
Yes, I agree.
Okay. So we're on they should probably look at wide receiver, but they shouldn't necessarily force it. So if they got out of this draft without selecting a wide receiver, how would you feel about the current state? Like, if this was the wide receiver room right now, you're not okay with it by the head shake.
Nah, I'm not okay with that wide receiver room, man. I mean, I'm sold on Xavier Worthy, and I mean, you got Rashee Rice coming back, and he can produce, but I want to see how he is after the injury. I want to see, and then who knows? We still got all summer before they decide. I mean, he possibly missed 2 months of the season before they decide what they want to do.
But our wide receiver selections aren't always hits. I know we got Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy before that, but we just talked about Sky Moore. He hasn't had that much production. You have Sammy Watkins' teammate out of Clemson that we thought was going to be very good for us that did not produce. So, it's hit or miss. We'll take these receivers and assume high standards, and then they won't do anything. And then we'll take Rashee Rice and assume he's going to be implemented very slowly, and he's basically the number one wide receiver the second he's on the field. So, I mean, just like anything, the draft is a crapshoot. It's not an exact science, and it's all about particular players, and the players are human beings and not just robots or fake people on TV or on film. So it's all about with the Chiefs kind of know the person and not just the type of player they are. I think that'll matter most.
Yeah, they've hit on the last two wide receivers though that we've gotten with Rice and Worthy. I was thinking that Rice was gonna obviously be brought along slowly, like you just said. But he learned a lot from Travis Kelce as far as how he's being covered and being able to sit in zones and everything like that. And that's once he learned that, that's when he took off quickly, and that's when he became a favorite of Pat's. And I think that was one of the things with Worthy as well later on throughout the season. That's why he ended up having a better season towards the end. You just got to get his feet in bounds. That's my thing with him.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right. Yeah. So if we didn't add any wide receivers, I think I'd be okay with it. I wouldn't be thrilled because of like an injury perspective. But if you just told me the top 3 or 4 wide receivers we have are the top 3 or 4 that are probably going to play majority of the time, I think I'd be satisfied. I think everybody was pretty much satisfied with the projected wide receiver room last season, which, Justin Watson's not here anymore, but he was 4 or 5. That's why we think Sky Moore can maybe take that spot. It wasn't asking for too much in that role. But the names that we do have, I think, are starting level, and if they played to their full potential, if Rashee Rice could have played all season, if Hollywood Brown could have played all season, if Xavier Worthy, 1 year older, more experienced in the NFL, like why wouldn't these 3 receivers dominate and take majority of the snaps? So I could see your fear of needing an extra wide receiver. I just don't know if the spot's for him.
Because we're an injury away. You saw you saw what happened to Hollywood on the first play of the preseason last year.
Right. Yeah,
he didn't come back till December.
Same can go for any position though.
Yeah.
Running backs, offensive tackle,
you gotta be prepared.
Quarterback, for crying out loud. You better find Patrick's replacement. 1 QB sneak away from another.
We got Gardner, man. We got Gardner. It's all right. Minshew.
Okay. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, Minshew will take our QB sneaks. We're all good there. All right. Anything else you want to wrap to people about in terms of the wide receiver room?
No, not really.
All right. Let us officially move on to the most exciting topic we had for tonight, the one that you were dying to talk about the most, I think. The all-time top 5 offense for the Chiefs. So right now, you have to name me your top Chiefs quarterback, running back, tight end, and you have 2 receiver selections. So who makes your squad and why? And then afterwards, who is someone that is perhaps underrated or someone that you have a personal attachment to that if they didn't make this list was an honorable mention for you?
As far as quarterback, we already know who the quarterback is. Quarterback is Pat.
Okay, so before we go further into that then, how far do you think the gap is between Mahomes and Lynn Dawson then? Because I would also agree, I would also put Patrick Mahomes as QB1, but then I think some older generations would say that we're sliding Lynn Dawson right now by just handing Patrick Mahomes this insta QB1 title. So
I respect my elders. I love them dearly. Lenny is a great, one of the greatest quarterbacks Chiefs history all time for sure. Pat Mahomes is past that. The gap is wide. I'm sorry. It's wide in my opinion. I love Lynn Dawson. I loved when he called for the Chiefs, and then when he worked for KMBC9. I love Lenny. Lenny's a GOAT for sure, but he's not doing with Pat Mahomes. Pat Mahomes is literally the face of the NFL. Every time you turn on the TV, Pat Mahomes is on it somewhere. Got so many commercials. He's on billboards. Yeah, he's kind of like it's to the point to where the rest of the league, even their fan bases and all, they hate the Chiefs because of Pat Mahomes and Travis Kelce, especially Pat Mahomes.
Do you think that a lot of that also comes to the fact that, like, Len Dawson was not on the Chiefs prior to, and we bring him in. Joe Montana is obviously one that gets brought up as someone that could be here, even though he wasn't here for too much time. But the fact that Patrick Mahomes is an official Kansas City Chiefs quarterback, like through and throughout, is that kind of swaying him more in your mind, giving him that bias?
Yes, I mean, just the impact he's put on Kansas City alone. So, just outside of football. So, yeah, he's definitely number one. Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, he's Kansas City through and through, man. So yeah, he's definitely, like I said, I respect Lenny. We all love Len Dawson for giving us our Super Bowl and everything like that. But Pat Mahomes got us 3, man.
Okay. So, who is your running back 1?
My running back 1, it was Jamal Charles. It was either I was a fan of Priest, but Jamal Charles, and I also was a fan of Larry Johnson as well when Larry Johnson was doing his thing. But Jamal Charles is definitely my number 1 running back.
Man, I'm so torn right now because I am wearing the Jamal Charles jersey as we speak at this point in time. And Jamal Charles, like with Patrick Mahomes, like if we were just like coming up with that was the game, like the fantasy team. We're just picking like who we think are the best, not necessarily the ones that like, oh, we're going to create the super Chiefs team. But, in a way, we kind of thinking that. So it's like Jamal Charles or Christian Okoye. And it's like, I know he didn't quite have the longevity, but just like the image of Patrick Mahomes and Christian Okoye together is kind of just like an uncanny one for me that, I'd almost want to experience, but I think I have to give it to Jamal Charles.
You got to give
you could argue like Marcus Allen is a Hall of Fame running back, but again, not on this team long enough to be a Chief that accomplished these goals. You can go back to the 60s and Mike Garrett and some other Hall of Famers, but fortunately, it's a little before our time, and we're not sliding Len Dawson either because
at all.
He proved
we love Lenny.
That's right. So I think I have to give it to Jamal Charles and just like his dynamic ability and the fact that translates no matter what era of the NFL you're in. Like Jamal Charles running fast is effective in 1920s NFL, 1960s NFL, 1980s NFL, and today's NFL. Jamal Charles could still be a dominant running back if he could still be around. So he's my choice.
Just imagine Pat Mahomes, Jamal Charles, and Tyreek Hill on the same offense.
Yeah, like just the speed and just somebody's down there somewhere, Uncle Rico style.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I think everyone wants us to go into the tight end choice because we know it's one of two, and we're gonna, make one side angry by the other. So who's your tight end one? Only one.
My tight end is Trav.
All right.
Trav. Tony's a great and everything like that, but he kind of slighted Casey a little bit when he went to Atlanta. But Tony's a great for sure. So I wish we had better teams around him to where he could compete for Super Bowls and stuff like that. He's basically like the number one option a lot of the times, and it was frustrating for Tony. I watched him a lot of those years. So, but yeah, he's definitely a great, but one of the greatest tight ends of all time. But give me arguably the greatest tight end of all time, Travis Kelce.
I am with you on this choice as well, and I'm not sliding the Tony Gonzalez crowd because I think, 3 or 4 years ago you could keep making an argument that Tony Gonzalez is better because he had this longevity and the stats and played on a bad team and had all these things that were boosting him up. But Travis has just as many yards. Has more receptions than freaking Jerry Rice in terms of postseason. So he plays well when he matters most. I know, making it to the playoffs isn't necessarily all on the tight end. So, that doesn't help Tony in that regard. But I think Travis Kelce has carved a Hall of Fame niche for himself in the NFL. And him finding Andy Reid was that perfect marriage. And Andy Reid said, I can ride this guy. And the fact that he's been able to do it consistently now has been remarkable. And it's been great to see his growth and just a player that he's matured a lot now. He's an ambassador for Kansas City. He's moving on to bigger and better things here. But I would agree. I would pick Travis Kelce. So if we're going to make the claim that Travis Kelce is better than Tony Gonzalez, I mean, you kind of already said it yourself. You think Travis Kelce is the greatest tight end of all time.
Yes.
Am I not mistaken by saying that? Okay.
Yes.
What is your claim to those who may say one Robert Gronkowski is their preferred tight end because he, quote, blocks better?
Yeah, that's a lot of people's knock on Travis Kelce as far as the blocking goes. But at the same time, he produced he produced in longevity. Longevity. How many games? How often do you see Travis Kelce missing games? Travis Kelce, best ability is availability. Gronkowski broke down early. Gronkowski, one of the greatest tight ends, yes. But yeah, give me Trav as one of the greats, man. Like I said, the numbers don't lie. His gold jacket was made about 3 years ago, 4 years ago. Okay, so they already making the statue now. His face they're already making that now. So he's solidified in canon.
Okay, all good there. So who are your two wide receivers?
My two wide receivers, I hate that my guy got traded. Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill was one of my wide receivers. I know a lot of people are going to say Dwayne Bowe, but I like Dwayne Bowe, but I grew up in early 2000s, late 90s, so I grew up watching Eddie Kennison and them people like that. I was a fan of Andre Rison. He wasn't here long, but so I will put Andre Rison as my number two because he was one of the reasons why I really started watching football because I used to see him every time he got a first down or something. He'd do a little Spider-Man little theme or whatever, and yeah. So those are my two.
Okay. So before I give mine, do you project say either Rashee Rice or Xavier Worthy as a player whose talent may put them up on this list of best Chiefs wide receivers in, say, 5 to 10 years or so? You think either one of those players could make an argument?
I think Worthy has a higher ceiling than Rashee Rice, in my opinion, just based off of skill set, his speed. And that's what the NFL is about now, is a bunch of speed. So once he gets better as far as his awareness on the field and everything like that, yeah, I definitely think that he has the ability to be possibly my number 2 favorite wide receiver of all time for the Chiefs. Rice. I know that's no shade on Rice at all. He's a good wide receiver. But when I see Rice play, he has it's almost like a wide receiver / tight end, almost like Juju almost. But if like Dale said he going for 1,500 this year. Rashee Rice go with 1,500 this year, then he'll go up there. I'll buy Rashee Rice. I will buy a Rashee Rice jersey if Rashee Rice gets 1,500 yards this year, if he gets it.
Okay, one more claim. Would you argue that Rashee Rice right now is a top 20 all-time wide receiver on the Chiefs? Could you think of 19 better receivers in the Chiefs era?
19 in the Chiefs era. Top 20? I mean, that's a...
Because if you start trying to go down the line of like memorable wide receivers, I mean, no offense, there's only certain amounts. It's either certain eras that you remember, or Sammy Watkins, Tyreek Hill, guys who have made they got a championship ring, McCole Hardman, so that they're memorable because you can name
out of the 17, McCole.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we haven't really had the history of as far as our wide receivers go. So I guess you could put up top 20 as far as production wise go. So yeah. Will he be top 5 though? That's the thing. That's where we want. That's where he should want to be.
Right.
Because I mean, you got Dwayne Bowe, Tyreek Hill,
Otis
who
Taylor.
would you put as top 5? Otis Taylor, yeah. I mean, it'd be top 5.
Okay.
I mean, it's probably easy to be top 15, top 12, in my opinion.
He's shown talent, and he's produced every time he's been on the field. So I don't see why Rashee Rice couldn't jump into that spot. Just because every single one of our picks have basically been identical. Tyreek Hill is the easy choice because he's, like I said, he's been here longer. So he's been here more memorable amount of time, been on the Super Bowl team. I'll shout out Otis Taylor again because he is one of the top ones, but not ones that we could physically watch with our eyes. So the 2 that I'm going for are going to be Dwayne Bowe, because I got a shout out, and Dale will be proud of me for that choice.
Debo.
Yeah, I got to shout out his guy. Dwayne Bowe in today's era, there wouldn't be any of the scandals that he was around. Legal in the state he's in, for crying out loud. So how things could be different just based on the era. And to go along with that, a player that flashed so much that could be like Tyreek Hill-esque in this offense right now is Dante Hall. A guy that's just as shifty as Tyreek Hill, just as shifty as Xavier Worthy looks now. But imagine, Dante Hall and Dwayne Bowe catching passes with Travis Kelce and Jamal Charles and Patrick Mahomes. I think that team's scoring, 100. They're getting 5 yards every down. You ain't stopping him.
I loved watching Dante Hall. Dante Hall, in that time when we were we would have good teams, but we would kind of flutter out or whatever come playoff time. Dante Hall kind of made it exciting. He made it exciting for me to watch football. Every time he got there to return kickoffs, man, and it'd be 12 noon and Kevin Harlan is calling the games, and you got Dante Hall returning kicks, man. That's how I knew fall time was in, man, because I got to see stuff like that. That's why I love fall so much, because I grew up watching stuff like that, man. So Dante Hall is definitely one of my favorites for sure.
Absolutely. Just saw him come into the Ring of Honor a couple years ago. So well deserved. Did not have the longevity that you would hope for, but obviously the fact that I shouted him out here and the Chiefs think highly of him, he could have been that type of dominant player if he could have had a chance a little earlier.
He has one of the greatest he has one of the greatest kick returns in NFL history against the Denver Broncos, man. Obviously, you get a lot of Denver Broncos that say it was a lot of blocking the back and this and that's blah blah blah. But to me, that's one of the greatest that's one of the greatest returns in NFL history.
To just be an NFL Films highlight reel, and that can keep you like in the pop culture NFL conversation for decades after. That allows us to justify that choice for him. So
yeah.
Anybody that like underrated or childhood that you think, or maybe like a could have been a player that had they just stayed here longer. Tyreek Hill, you already said that, but a player who's either injured, so he didn't get to shine as much, wasn't here as long. Anybody like that stand out for you?
My one of them is DeAnthony Thomas. I was a big fan of his. Oh man, the highlight reel that he has on YouTube. DeAnthony Thomas was supposed to be, well, he was supposed to be Tyreek Hill before Tyreek Hill.
Mm-hmm.
DeAnthony Thomas was that guy. So I was very high on DeAnthony Thomas. Also Dexter McCluster. I like Dexter McCluster as well.
That was right in my head as soon as you were thinking DeAnthony Thomas, Dexter McCluster, Dante Hall, that type of like gadgety receiver that the Chiefs love doing punt returns. And then Andy Reid's like, that's my whole offense, except for Rashee Rice. He's like, big body wide receivers also work in my offense. Good to know.
Yep.
I already shouted out Christian Okoye, so he's not underrated, but he's just a guy. Freaking Tecmo Bowl beast right here. If you're going to say that Marcus Allen or Bo Jackson is the best in that game, nope. I was Christian Okoye running zigzags all over them fools. You can't beat that. So, or Derek Thomas off the edge in that game. 2 seconds. Or honestly, what you had to do, you had to pick Dan Saliamua, man. That's what you had to do. You had to pick him, immediately jump the center and get the insta sack every single time. So defensive tackle Dan Saliamua getting shouted out to end this episode of Gridiron Gambit. That's the type of topics we have on this show on a Friday evening. We're just trying to have fun, to give you all some fun NFL Chiefs topics to finish your week, go into the weekend, and get ready for an NFL draft. We will not be having regular podcast episodes, but on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, we will have a live edition of Gridiron Gambit Camp covering whatever the Chiefs or the NFL has done at that particular time. So we are not going away, just taking a little breather to get our heads and our minds right so we can come back and discuss the latest NFL news ahead. Ray, do you have any final thoughts about what we have discussed today or anything to leave the people on this Friday evening?
No, man. Just thanks for watching and keep supporting, man. That's all I can ask for, man.
Oh, look at that. Company man already. Love to see it. So thank you all for joining us. Hope you all had fun. If you're listening to us after the fact, leave a comment. We'll interact with that. If you listen to us while we were live, thanks for tuning in. Dale, thanks for being a trooper, keeping us inspired the whole time. True COO right there. That is all the time we have for you today. Hope you all enjoy your weekend. And as always, go Chiefs.
Thanks for checking out this update straight from the heart of Chiefs Kingdom. We appreciate your passion, so please leave a like and follow us wherever you tune in from. See you next tailgate, your trusted source for all things Chiefs, Red Kingdom Media.